purpose of this series of podcasts is to go through the sample exam so you get a sense of what the questions will be like and the kinds of topics that we'll be covering, as well as the format that's required for the end exam. So I'm going to break these videos up so that they're not too long each, and that hopefully you can skip through perhaps to areas that you want to cover in a bit more detail than other areas. In these samples, I am going to be using my own little handy-dandy sheets that help me remember. So you have your 2 pages that you can take into the exam. I've got slightly more because mine are formatted differently. I know that you can get a lot of detail into your formatting. I'm going to use the ones that I've been using through my lectures to help me remember and answer these questions. But the idea is the same, that you're going in with some material that can help you remember what you need to. So with no further ado, why don't we get involved with this sample exam? One of the first things I do with an exam is skim through it, right, to get a sense of what's there. And I can see that, look, we've got 15 multiple choice worth 15 marks. And part B, I've got to write a letter. Okay. Part C, I've got some kind of short answer questions there. And part D, I've got some problems to do. So in actual fact, if I were approaching this, I'd then be thinking about how long each section should be taking me. Okay, so if I've got 120 minutes and 50 marks, it's just under 2.5 minutes a mark. So for the multiple choice, I know that that should be taking me 35 minutes or so to do those multiple choice. Section B, the letter that I have to write, that's 8 marks. So I know that that should be taking me about 20 minutes, a little bit under 20 minutes. So I've got 20 minutes to write that letter. Then I have these 4 terms here that I'm interested in doing, and they're 12 marks. Okay, so again, 12 marks is roughly just under 30 minutes. So that means I've really got about 5 minutes a question, 5 to 6 minutes a question for these ones. And then I get into my end problems, which again, all up, that's 15 marks. So we know that 15 marks is about 35 minutes. So I've got about 5 to 7 minutes for each answer that I do here. So I probably will be taking all this time, and I'm probably going to take a little bit longer because I'm going to explain my answer, particularly in the multiple choice. I could do these a lot quicker than what we might say. But I'd be setting out those time limits as part of my exam strategy and making sure that I stuck to those time limits and spent time where I know I can do the most good. I'm going to go through it question by question, but I would also be starting in the area that I felt I had the strongest showing, so something I knew I could do. So for instance, if I knew what I was going to put in the letter, how to set that letter out, right, 6 marks, I might even start with section B, start that in my exam script notebook, because I know that I can do that one and get 8 marks, 6 to 8 marks under my belt by following the template. So I might even start there if I was a bit unsure about some of the questions. Again, if I knew what these were, if I knew what non-est factum, whole of agreement, what the tort is, and what vague consideration is, yeah, I know what most of those are. So I might even write that. That meant if I was crunched for time, right, I might be crunched in these 1 mark areas where I can get through a mark towards the end. Because hopefully I know a fair bit about what's on the exam, I'm going to start at question 1. Okay, so there are a couple of tips around the strategy you might want to use. And from here on in, I'll actually start addressing the particular questions in detail.